Hello everybody! So I just wanted to do a quick little look at the Kakimori Brass nib. So Kakimori makes a couple of different nibs. They have the stainless steel one, this brass one, and also a glass. The reason I wanted to have a look at the brass one was that it's more geared towards drawing or sketching. The stainless steel one I think is a little smoother and you can get a finer line. So I think it's more geared towards writing than this one, but I definitely wanted it for sketching, so I was super excited to try this out. And depending on the angle, you can get different line width. So I have a couple of different nib holders that I'm going to try this in. I didn't actually buy the Kakimori one because it was just a little bit expensive, and I thought if I have something that works already, I'll try it out first, and if not, then I will go ahead and get it. So let's try, this is my cheapest one. This is just a manuscript nib holder. It just has these little tines in here that hold the nib. I've seen other people try these and it's been a bit of a tight fit, so I'm just going to try it, but I'm not going to force it. Yeah, so this really does not want to go in there, and I don't want to scratch it. So if my other ones don't work, I'll try this again. And then I have another manuscript holder which probably won't work either because, you know, they're the same brand, but this has a bit more of a fancy grip here. These are, I think this is about $10 and I think this one's about $3, but it is kind of a good investment because these get a little bit hard on your fingers after a while, whereas this grip is really nice. I mean, it gets really dirty obviously, but anyway, let's try it and see. Oh, actually this one's a little looser, maybe because I use this more. So yeah, that is a totally fine fit. Let's see, did it scratch it at all? It doesn't look scratched at all. So yeah, so if you have one of these manuscript ones, it fits mine. I'm not sure if that's because I've used it a bunch and it's a little bit looser, but yeah, you can get these on Jackson's for around 10 bucks I think, and it's a really good fit. It's not gonna fly out. And then the other thing I wanted to try was another thing from Jackson's, which was this lead holder. So this is a 5.6 millimeter lead holder. This is just the Jackson's brand. I think this runs about $8 or so, or maybe cheaper actually. It might be around 5 or 6, and it just goes like that and grabs your lead. So I did actually see someone else using a similar one to this, so I thought I might give it a try. So you just pop your thing in there, and actually that's a really good fit. Yeah, so if you have a 5.6 millimeter lead holder, so this is like the lead that goes in it, it's a little bit smaller than the nib, but it still works actually. And this is quite a good fit. It's not slipping around. Yeah, so that could totally be an option, and it doesn't scratch it up at all. And then the other one that I have is this, I think this is a Tachikawa nib holder. So you can just get these on Amazon. I think they're around $8 or so. And they have a nice squishy holder here. So these are great. And the reason I think this one might be the best fit is that this has the same sort of coupling as the Kakimori nib holder. It has this circular one. So I am guessing this is going to be the best fit. Oh yeah, that is smooth. Yeah, so that doesn't feel like it's damaging at all, and you get a satisfying pop when you take it out. So I personally think this is probably the best, the most gentle fit, I guess, because it's not going to scratch it up because this is just either silicone or plastic here. And I really like this one too because it has a little lid, so it's good for out and about. You can protect your nib in there. So I think probably this one, it's the Tachikawa nib holder. Super easy to get on Amazon, around $8 I think, $6 to $8. So I think I'll try out the pen with this holder because I like the grip of it and it seems to fit really nicely. Yeah, so let's try it out. So I'm going to use some Diamine Golden Brown. I'm just going to tilt this bottle because I can't really get the nib in there, but I want to get it in all the little reservoirs. And let's see what marks we can make. So if we hold it kind of really flat here, and this is just on some cold press paper here, so it has a little bit of texture to it. So I'm kind of holding it at a bit of an angle, trying to get some thicker lines. Yeah, so it's kind of coming out like that. And if I bring my angle up, wow, you can get really fine lines. So it's kind of like a fude nib. If you remember, I did a video way back when I first started my fountain pen journey. I think it was the Sailor Fude de Manon, and you could get this kind of same line variation. So it's very similar to that in that sense, but the nice thing about this is that you can dip it into any color you want. You don't have to fill up a cartridge or a converter, so it's just a little more versatile. But this is kind of similar to that, because it's all about the angle that you're at to get the line variation that you want. So if I hold it down, I can get some of these lines here, which makes for like quite an organic line here. And then you can, in the same pen, you can kind of go really thin. Like super thin. I wonder if it does stippling as well. Yeah, so you can actually stipple with this as well, so you can get some really fine little dots, kind of depending on what angle you have the pen at. I don't know what I'm drawing here, just some kind of organic mushroom or petal or something. Just going with what the pen is telling me to do. Yeah, so that's really cool that you can do stippling with it. It's not a really uniform stipple like you would get with a micron, but it has this beautiful organic feel to it, which I really like. And it's still, this is my first dip. All of this so far has been on that same dip. And I'm just sort of twirling the pen around. It actually looks like it might be empty now, so I might, yeah, so I'm going to get another dip. But that is a lot of drawing. Ooh, wow. that let out a lot of ink. So that might be something to watch out for when you first dip it. It's probably really loaded. But look at those little dots. Oh, that's wonderful. So this is really the only tool you need. If you're out and about, just an ink pot or even watercolor, you could water it down and then brush it onto the nib. Isn't this ink gorgeous? It just has so much variation depending on how thick you lay it down. I wonder how thick I can get it. So at a certain point, it doesn't get much thicker than this, I think. But you can build up color. And this, you can hear quite a lot of texture on here, but it's it lays down quite wet without much pressure. Like I'm just sort of really holding it here. You can see it kind of dug into the paper a little bit there. So there are some sharp pieces to it. Like even when you run your finger across it, it feels a little bit sharp. So you kind of have to be careful, especially with like watercolor paper, which is kind of thick. You're kind of etching into the paper here. But really fascinating line variation. You can get these super thin lines. And this is the brass one. I think they have a stainless steel one as well, but I think that produces an even more fine line. So the main reason I wanted this was for sketching. So I decided to get the brass one because it apparently is better for getting a greater range of line widths. I mean, this writes pretty well, but I think I've heard from other creators out there that the stainless steel one is a little thinner and a little sharper, so it might be better for ink sampling and things like that. It does definitely feel scratchy, like it is a little pointy and rough on the end. It's not a super smooth feeling, and I have run out of ink again. But yeah, it does hold a lot of ink, and I think I'm not really dipping it in full capacity either. Let's try a different color just for fun. So this is another Diamine ink called Little Pip, and this is a Cult Pens exclusive ink, and this is a kind of a high sheener. So let's see what this one looks like. But it is a little bit of a learning curve to figure out. I mean, it's not actually a learning curve. It's pretty simple. The more you flatten it out, the thicker the line. The more you have a straight up angle, the thinner the line. So it is pretty intuitive, but you know, your hand normally isn't used to doing that when you're drawing. So it is a little bit of an adjustment, I guess, if you're just used to sketching, holding your pencil or pen a certain way. I mean, look at that line variation. Just moving your pen and the angle, and you can have all this gorgeous interest. Especially using ink, like you can see it on the golden brown here. Depending on the angle and how much pressure I was doing, you know, you have these light bits, and then you have a whole bunch of ink dumped here when I refilled it again, and I just love the idea of all that variation and interest. You know, it will really add some character to your drawings. Yeah, so you can actually get quite a fine line. I'm gonna try it on some other paper. Let's try it on some rhodia. So this is just some rhodia paper, so let's see how it writes on here. Whoa, okay, so I just re-inked it, and there was a whole bunch of ink kind of waiting to come out. So that really is something to maybe keep in mind when you first start. Maybe try it out on a spare piece of paper first to get that first bit going, and then once it's going, it's a little better. So let's see. I'm just kind of changing the way I was holding it. It's not smooth. I would say compared to like a fountain pen, like a TWSBI or something, which are ultra smooth, this is not like that. This is more like a glass dip pen. Yeah, I mean, you can hear it. It's definitely scratchy. This is definitely not a smooth nib. And on the actual Kakimori site, it says that it's honed to an ultra smooth finish. I disagree with that. I do not feel, I thought it was maybe just because I was on watercolor paper here, so that and it's kind of textured, that it was scratchy, but it's definitely on this rhodia. It is definitely, I mean, you can hear that. It's pretty scratchy. You can see that they're not smooth lines at all. But again, I don't know about the stainless steel version. Maybe it's a smoother honed instrument because it's more for writing, whereas this brass one is more for sketching. So I would just keep that in mind if you're wanting to get it for sketching. I think this is an amazing pen. I am really enjoying using it just for the amount of texture you can get. So as you can see, you can get all of this line variation. It's really organic, and then you can do stippling. I mean, it is not a uniform stipple. They're definitely not little dots like you would get again with a micron, but it is a really fascinating nib, and I just love that you can use it as a dip nib without having to clean a section or feed or anything like that, like a fountain pen, like the Fude fountain pen. But if you have used a Fude before, it is kind of similar to that. It kind of feels like you're changing your angle to get different line variation. So yeah. Okay, so as for cleaning, you pretty much just dip it in water. So I've just got a little thing of water here. Actually holding quite a lot of ink there. And this is a sheening ink, so it could be a bit of a problem. You can still see it in here. You can pull it out because I don't really want to submerge this holder in the water. So I'm pretty sure you can just submerge the whole thing. And any water that gets in there, you can just dry it out. It does say if you want to use a toothbrush to clean these, you can. It said it's not going to damage the nib. So maybe a soft toothbrush might be a good way to clean it. But as you can see, it cleans up really fast and easy. It says for the first couple of uses that it might not flow as well as you would like because of oil left on the nib for manufacturing. So you might want to use I think it says it's a pH neutral detergent if you want to get rid of that grease before you use it first, or if you get buildup or something, then you can use that. I am not sure if this is going to patina over time. Brass normally does. We can check back later to see if that has happened. But yeah, I think just keeping it clean and dry will make this last for a long time. So after using this and cleaning it out, I realized that some of the water was kind of staying trapped in these little channels here. So I rummaged through my supplies and found these little lint-free rectangles here. These are actually for removing nail polish, but I got like a million of them and I don't actually really like them for removing nail polish. They're kind of weird. But anyway, they are perfect for getting into the little grooves here and sucking out the water. You can just pop them in here and they hold their shape. And you can just suck all the water up and then you just let these dry and you can use the same one over and over because it's just clean water. Yeah, so these are really cool. You can also just use a shop towel. It's a little harder because they aren't as sturdy, but it's important to get all the moisture out of here so that it doesn't rust. So overall, I really like this guy. I think it's going to come in really handy. Yeah, and I really like this holder. This is again the Tachikawa holder. You know, it's under 10 bucks on Amazon and it fits the nib perfectly. It fits in there and it just stops once you get to that line. And having the lid is really nice. I mean, I would let this dry out, but then once it's dry, you can cap it and take it on the go. So if you don't want to drop the bucks on getting the Kakimori holder, I think this one is fabulous and comfortable and portable. So again, I'll put all the links to all of the nib holders and the Kakimori nib at a couple of different places, depending on where you want to purchase it from. Yeah, and I hope you guys got something out of this and it helped you decide whether you wanted to grab one of these for your sketching. All right, thanks guys. Bye.